The Manhattan Transfer and Take 6 are two of the preeminent vocal groups of recent decades. Here they are performing together with special guest vocalist, jazz enthusiast Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So we are pleased now to welcome Alan Paul of the Manhattan Transfer and Claude McKnight of Take 6. The groups are recording a Soundstage concert tonight here at WTTW. Gentlemen, welcome to Chicago tonight.
Nice to be back here.
So first of all, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in the video we just looked at. How and when did he become an honorary member?
For a while. I mean, he's fans of both of us, and you know, he's like a big doo-wop fan. So we'd be playing in New York and stuff, and he'd come backstage and sing doo-wop with us. You
know, you don't think of, he's such a, he seems like such a private, self-contained, you know, thinker. One doesn't think of him as a vocal performer. Claude McKnight, how good is he?
Well, he's an incredible music lover, you know, and from what I remember, he had his own jazz label back in the day, you know, right after he finished playing ball. So I mean, he's always been into music.
All right. Well, let's talk about the your two groups, because you've been touring together for a couple of years. You're both vocal groups, but what different approaches do you bring to the table, Claude?
Well, for us, I mean, probably the biggest difference is we're primarily an a cappella group, and with 6 people, we tend to do a lot of the extended harmonies. The Manhattan Transfer being a mixed vocal group, you know, 2 guys and 2 girls, it's a little different in that sense. But we do a lot of the same things. You know, we love a lot of the same music.
Alan Paul, where's the overlap? What are the kinds of things that both groups love?
Well, we actually, there was a guy named Gene Perling who had a group called the Hi-Lo's back in the 50s. And later he had a group called Singers Unlimited. And Gene really was an influence on both of us.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the bedrock of both groups.
Yeah,
absolutely.
because harmonically, I think in terms of the spread, you know, he would, you know, definitely, you know, I think influence the sound, you know, of that. He did a lot of arrangements for us and stuff. So yeah.
Anything from 4-part to probably 10, 12 parts or so.
Huh.
So yeah.
And likewise, you are influencing current groups. Some of the groups that you know that you listen to and think, there's a little bit of us in that. What comes to mind?
Yeah, I think Pentatonics. We were talking about Straight No Chaser. I think them as well. New York Voices.
Sure. And a lot of the groups that came out of the TV show, The Sing Off. You know, Committed, who won, came from the same school that Take 6 came from. Oh, so
right.
They're little brothers of ours.
Because you met in college at a Seventh-day Adventist school.
Yes, called Oakwood University.
You must be in their Hall of Fame, I would imagine.
I would imagine.
You've probably been back there a bunch of times. But look, both of you, both groups have had so little turnover over the course of your creative lives. What does that do in terms of continuity and what manifests itself creatively, Alan?
Well, I think I think that it has that you know, having the same singers in there. It's like, you know, it's like matching voices. You know, our first partner, Laura Massey, you know, when the group first got together, was Tim Hauser, Janice Siegel, myself, and Laura Massey. And then Laura left in 1979, Cheryl Benteen came in. So there was that continuity and expansion as well into, you know, different sounds and different styles.
And for you, Claude, what does that continuity do?
I think what it does for us is, it's not just the singing part of it. It's the living part of it. You know, when you're on stage, you understand what's going to happen because you know this person very, very well. And when you have many years of that, you know how to breathe like them. You know how, you know, when they're feeling good, when they're not feeling good. And I think that that's very, very important, especially with a vocal group.
How does one achieve longevity when creative groups, singing groups, bands, I mean, you know, the Beatles were together for 5 years after Ed Sullivan. How does that work, the interpersonal side?
Well, I think it's like being a family. I think you have to learn to compromise. You have to learn to listen, to adjust, to balance, you know, in order to make that work. You know, I think.
And there needs to be respect underneath all of that.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Because Claude,
none of that works.
all families have their spats from time
Absolutely.
to time. So how do you handle those?
Again, it's with respect. If I know that I've done something wrong and you need to call me out about it, if I know there's a love underneath that and a respect, then there's a way to handle that so that we can all actually make sure that it goes over well. Otherwise, you have too many problems that are outside of music and outside of everything, and it won't work.
Creatively, how do you know what vehicle is going to work for you? I mean, you guys had a huge hit with "The Boy from New York City." How do you decide what song would really make sense for you?
It's just a feeling. It's a gut feeling. You know, we don't, you know, in the course of the music that we've done, it's, you know, you go on a hit of what you want. What do you want to create? You know, what is this particular thing that you're doing? You know, back in the day, it was like, okay, well, you want to make a single, you want to do this, you have to structure it a certain way. What would be good? What do you think would work for the radio or not? You know, different. You know, there's different things that, you know, that come up.
So, bringing the two groups together, how does that work? Because, okay, two families, you know how you work within a family, but all of a sudden you've got these two different approaches, these two different histories and that sort of thing. How do you do it, Claude?
To be honest with you, it was tough at the beginning because that's a lot of people on stage. There's a lot of vocalists. But what you have to do is, or what we had to do was understand what are the common songs that make sense to do, try to get everybody involved as far as different soloists and different types of songs and everything.
When this partnership was presented to you, did you have some reservations about it?
Not really. It was exciting because when we like each other, you know. So I think it's always cool to do something together where you really respect and like the people that you're working with. Doesn't mean it wasn't tough.
Yeah, I think that it was, yeah, it was like, wow, this would be a really cool idea. I mean, we had worked together. I remember years ago, you know, we did a benefit in Newark for the Boys Clubs of Newark, you know, with Dionne Warwick, and, you know, we had done things together, but we never really thought about, well, you know, what about if we expand this and actually do something where we put the harmony together and we actually create, you know, a show around it, you know. So it definitely building blocks. You know, we would do little steps at a time, you know. So we would start with this. We had a couple of songs, and it's okay. Well, what about this tune? Let's kind of open this up, and let's see if we can, you know, do that. So we would build it a little bit more, add a little bit more, you know.
Well, our audience is going to be the beneficiary of this collaboration eventually here on WTTW. Alan Paul, Claude McKnight, thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate it. A pleasure.